Good morning, student. Today we are going to discuss the screening procedure. Once you construct your library and you are going to screen your gene of interest, what are the screening procedure present to do so? So most common thing is the colony and plaque hybridization technique. Plaque hybridization, why it is coming? Bacteriophage produce plaque on a bacterial lawn. So that means when you are doing your genomic library in a cosmid or a phage vector, bacteriophage vector, so that can be when you are taking this thing out, that phage will lyse the bacterial cell and will produce the plaque. So you can isolate, we can screen those plaques. Now, let us start with the outline of this process. Transfer the DNA in the plaque or colony to a nylon or nitrocellulose membrane. So, what we are going to first do, we have a plate, master plate, where either the plaques are present or the colonies are there, which need to be transferred to a nitrocellulose membrane. So if it is a phage DNA, it will directly bind to the membrane. If it is a bacterial DNA, we need to lyse the cell with a lysis buffer. And after that, both the cases we need to do alkali treatment to denature it. Once the DNA is attached with the nitrocellulose membrane, hybridization, we will use a radio label probe or fluorescently labeled probe corresponding to a gene of interest which you are looking for. And once the hybridization process is done, we need to wash to remove the unhybridized probe, and visualization can be done if it is a radioactive probe, so you can do directly autoradiography. If you are using an antibody, that means you are looking for a protein which is expressing either in the plaque, that means the phage, that clone, or that is in the bacteria which inside the vector where you have cloned your gene of interest, that is actually expressing and giving you a protein. In that case, you are using antibody or enzyme modified nucleotide label that you can use, and you can line up the hybridized region or repeat the hybridization. So you can repeat the process also. Let us go a little bit in details. The next slide is showing transfer to a nitrocellulose or nylon membrane. So this green color, this one is the your master plate, from where you are actually using circularly, you have cut it, the nitrocellulose membrane in circular manner, and that is your actually replica plated there. Okay, you transfer your colonies there. Once that is there, you denature the DNA with sodium hydroxide. I told you need to make it an irreversible transfer, so you need to bake it. You can do it UV cross linking also. Once this is done, then you charge with a probe P32 label DNA or any complementary sequence, RNA sequence, whichever the probe you have, or synthetic oligonucleotides. Then wash it, clean it, and then do an autoradiography. In the autoradiography, you may see few black spot. Now you need to check your master plate which colony actually is light up. So in that colony, your gene of interest is located. So by doing that one, you can screen an entire library. Now, this diagram is showing screening a genomic library using DNA hybridization to a radio label DNA probe. This is what people are doing. This is a plaque formation. So you see that there are small gap, individual phage plaques. This is a master plate of lambda phage plaque on E. coli lawn. That means E. coli is your host where you have inserted your vector. The vector must be either cosmid also can possible, or lambda phage vector you have taken. Now place the nitrocellulose filter on plate to pick up the phage from each plaque. Okay, so once nitrocellulose filter you have done, then incubate the filter in alkali solution to lyse the phage and denature, release the DNA. So, and you need to know that after that you need to make it irreversible binding. The DNA should bind to the membrane irreversibly, so that you can bake it or you can cross-link with UV. Then singles, already you denatured the single stranded phage DNA bound to the filter. Now you use your probe of interest, hybridized with the label probe, perform autoradiography. So you may get one signal, two signal based on which plaque is containing your gene of interest. Okay. So the next screening process is that is in the bacterial cell. The same thing in different way I want to tell you. This is your gene of interest. This is the vector where I inserted transform equally with a genomic library here made in a plasmid vector. Okay. Now this is a replica plating. The Valvetin surface, this is sterilized, pressed on the plate. This is the master plate where your bacteria had grown. Plate on selective growth media, colonies grown. Next, what we are doing, we are just doing a replica plate. Velveteen with cells from original colonies is pressed to selective medium plate with filter on its surface. So you can just one line can write that you have of round shaped filter paper meaning nitrocellulose membrane where you transfer the colony. Now once you finish this one, filter, remove from the culture dish bacteria lysed, alkali lysis, we need to lyse the bacterial cell to get the DNA. Then DNA need to be denatured and bound to the filter paper. So again they are using the P32 label probe, and that need to be denatured because it should be single stranded, and wash filter free the unbound probe, detect the hybridization by autoradiography for radioactively labeled probe or by chemiluminescence detection for non-radioactively labeled probe. Dark spot indicates clones detected by probe. Okay, so that's the classical method how we do genomic DNA screening, genomic library screening. Now, in case we have a cDNA library, the screening a cDNA library, there are certain things you need to remember. cDNA libraries are used to detect or sequence gene for protein. That means cDNA are generated for genes that are transcribed. That means we have cDNA is a complementary DNA. You know that from mRNA have generated the cDNA. That means it is functional. Most of the cases we can generate, transcribe and then translate. You have the protein ready. If you know the DNA sequence for the protein coding gene you want to find, a homologous DNA probe can be used. So you can use the DNA probe. If no homologous DNA sequence is available, cDNA can be probed with an antibody that recognizes the protein. That's the beauty of cDNA. So if it is an express protein, so you can develop an antibody against that protein, and that protein now can be used as a probe. mRNA is transcribed from the cDNA and translated by the host cell. Colonies now expressing protein are transferred to the membrane. Membrane is incubated with label antibody probe that recognizes the protein. Colonies with bounded antibody leave a dark spot on autoradiography X-ray film. Now let us see how when it is an cDNA library. So in first thing that you remember that there should be an expression vector. Okay, so cDNA can be cloned in other vectors also, but if I want to check the cDNA library by using an antibody probe, you need to start with a vector which is an expression vector. Why? Because the gene need to be transcribed and then translate. Okay, so everything mentioned here. Then what we are getting here, transferred equally with cDNA clones in expression vector. Number 3. Now see, directly you can go to the what is that called, transfer it is in a nitrocellulose membrane, but they have done one extra step, that is plate on selective growth media colonies will grow here. They culture this thing, take each colony and then they use a microtiter dish. You know why? Because I want the gene to be expressed and cell to be very healthy and growing. Okay, so if I do this process, each colony I am transferring in a microtiter dish, and in the media it is growing. Then from there I am taking the colonies to membrane filter and grow on medium. cDNA proteins products is expressed. This transfer in a microtiter dish and allowing them to grow will give us the protein to be transcribed and translated. Then we are in the Sixth step, take a filter off and lyse cell in situ. Protein product of cDNA is bound to the filter. Remember, the filter meaning nitrocellulose membrane we are talking. Now we are thinking like that, we lyse the cell. Now we lysis buffer should be something like that, only the protein should be there. So the proteins hopefully from each colony, each back from the microtiter dish to the media, and then from the nitrocellulose membrane sticks. You can see the yellow colored spots. Now your probe is now the known antibody against your gene of interest. Which one you want to know, you should have an antibody against that. So antibody can be radioactively labeled, that is the primary antibody only can be radioactively labeled, or you may have a secondary antibody. The primary antibody is the non-label, then the secondary anti-antibody is radio label or fluorescence label. But here what they have shown, they have taken the radioactive antibody. So primary antibody is radioactive label, so that is making your work less. So directly it will bind if it is there. Then make an autoradiogram and identify the clone. The which one is will show you the black spot. Go back to the Petri plate, and from there to go back to the micropipette, and then microtiter dish, which colony, then go back to the first one. You can get it back that which colony is giving you your protein of interest. That means which is actually cDNA, which is transcribed and then translate and give you the protein. Okay. Now, once you understand all these things, then there are two more topics let us discuss in very brief. That is, one is in situ hybridization. In situ hybridization, it is a technique that allows for precise localization of a specific segment of nucleic acid within a histological section. That means within it could be a tissue, okay? So where inside the tissue, inside the cell, where the exactly DNA is present and whether that is expressing or not, you can detect. The underlying basis of in situ hybridization is that nucleic acids, if preserved adequately within a histological specimen, it can be a biopsy sample also, can be detected through the application of a complementary strand of nucleic acid to which a reporter molecule is attached. The principle is hybridization technique only, but here what we are doing in situ, that means we are fixing the cell or the tissue and we are searching our gene of interest or our DNA, which fragment I'm looking for, whether that is there or not, and if it is a gene, whether it is expressing or not. Visualization of the reporter molecule allows to localize DNA or RNA sequence in a heterogeneous cell population, including tissue samples and environmental samples. Riboprobes also allow to localize and assess degree of gene expression. The technique is particularly useful in detection of genetic alteration. So what it's implies that when you can visualize that, let's say two samples are there, one from the normal, one from some abnormal behavior of a cell. So if you compare, in the normal you may see a spot, but if that is amplified more in the disease condition, so you can clearly mention that particular region there's an alteration takes place, that's why this amplification takes place. Okay, that's why gene expression they are talking. Now, how this hybridization is happening? What are the probes we can use? In situ hybridization probes, there could be double-stranded DNA probes, single-stranded DNA probes, RNA probes, synthetic oligonucleotides can also be used. What are the labeling techniques? Radioactive isotopes, P32 you can use, S35 also you can use, titurated hydrogen also you can use. Non-radioactive labels are also there, biotin label. Digoxinin, that is also another chemical, we can use that thing also. Then the fluorescence dye, there are so many chromophores are there which are actually fluorescents. These are very common to visualize the cells when we are using the fluorescent dyes. Now in general, this is the procedure. I found this is very interesting, so let me explain all this thing. So in exam, this left hand side, right hand sides also, everything I will explain. But if you find that it is time taking, so you can only the left hand side and the slide preparation you mention. So slide preparation is, it is your can be karyotyping is also possible. Cell fixation is also can be done. That's what I mentioned. Biopsy tissues also can be you can perform this in situ hybridization. So what they are taking, you start with a probe labeling. That means this is your probe. You can label with a fluorescence, or you can indirect. That means some other other than fluorescence dye also, radio labeling also you can do. Now we need to denature the probe, so the single standard separation is there. Now we have a hybridization mixture. Always the hybridization solution is there, and we need to mention here, before hybridization we do pre-hybridization solution also, and the temperature also is very, very crucial for that. And at the same time you need to prepare a slide. Now what is the right hand side? Right hand side, they are making some other unknown DNA, which is not specific sequence here, which is, we can say, blocking DNA. That also fragment of those DNAs, small sperm DNA, okay, that general people use, and that also they denature. When they do the hybridization, they use the probe as well as this non-specific also. Why? Because if my hybridization, if it is unique, then only it will come and bind. All the other things to eliminate any non-specific binding of the probe. So this fragmented DNA, blocking DNA, that will block other DNA. Okay, so the chance of the probe to bind other portions are minimum. Only where it is fine, its maximum complementary sequence, it will go and bind there. So once it is bind, if it is a fluorescence level, you can see, visualize in microscope. And so try to understand what is the BDF. This part is telling, this is fragmentation of blocking DNA. This, why we do this thing? Because with the probe we use this fragment of DNA which is unrelated, in order to maximize the probe hybridization in a proper place, or you can say other way, minimize non-specific hybridization. Okay. So if it is a fluorescence level, if it is a P32 level, you need to go for an autoradiography. If it is a fluorescence level, then you can directly visualize through a phase contrast microscope, and you can see. Now if it is a fluorescence, that is named as FISH. You must be knowing, you have studied in your genetics classes. Now what is the applications of in situ hybridization? This is characterization of 16S rRNA morphology and population structure of microorganism. You can visualize that which type of, if it is a microbiological study. Pathology, pathogen profiling, abnormal gene expression. Developmental biology, gene expression profiling in embryonic tissue. That means in the developmental stage, at which stage which gene is expressed and which is not, and which is eventually its expression level is increasing. That also you can do by doing this process. Karyotyping and phylogenetic analysis, unique FISH pattern on individual chromosome, chromosomal aberration. Physical mapping, mapping clones on chromosomes, and direct assignment of mapped clones to chromosomal region associated with heterochromatin or euchromatin region. That means at particular which position this your that locus is present, you can determine. Our last topic is DNA microarray. So you need to know the basic concept of microarray and the principle behind it and the application. A DNA microarray, also commonly known as DNA chip or biochip, is a collection of microscopic DNA spot attached to a solid surface. Okay, so we'll see how it looks like. Scientists use DNA microarray to measure the expression level of large number of genes simultaneously, or to genotype multiple regions of a genome. So this is the reason, this is the principle. So simultaneously measure a huge amount of genomic expression we can study, as well as we can do genotyping of multiple region of a genome. Each DNA spot contain a very small amount of, that is called picomole, 10 to the power minus 12 moles of a specific DNA sequence, known that we can say probe, or we can say that is a reporter or oligos, whichever way you can mention them. Now, what actually is happening? This can be a short section of a gene or other DNA element that are used to hybridize a cDNA or cRNA, also called antisense RNA sample, called target, under high stringency condition. Now, once you have the fixed DNA there, now you need to hybridize. Okay. Probe target hybridization is usually detected and quantified by detection of fluorophore, silver, or chemiluminescence labeled targets to determine relative abundance of nucleic acid sequence in the target. The original nucleic acid array, where microarray approximately was 9 cm by 12 cm, and the first computerized image-based analysis was published in 1981. It was invented by Patrick O. Brown. Now, let me go a little bit basic of this technique. So, what we mentioned here, the fixed probes. Okay, so this is a single-stranded DNA, different features, that means binding in different genes. These are all single-stranded probes which you fixed in a solid surface. Now, this is your target, which are coming. If it is having a really complementary sequence with your fixed probe, so it will completely hybridize. But in this one, this is hybridized, but this is not hybridized. So it is many number of such probes you can fix. So maybe with one it is completely hybridized. For this, the second one, it is partially complementary strands bind weakly. So during washing, that will go. Now, taking this principle, so you can analyze multiple samples with a very simplicity. We are showing here two samples, sample 1 and sample 2. You have isolated RNA. From there, you can generate the cDNA. So one is green color, one is red color. That means different chromophores labeled with different fluorescently labeled dye, and then they have hybridized with the chip. So chip is already fixed with the probe. Okay, so that different genes have expressed in differentially. So how the chip, once it is you can visualize in the screen, they can different colors, the intensity you can measure. So that can be analyzed by a software. Now, the application of microarray technology. Application covered only as example context. Emphasis is on analysis method. So, what are the things actually we can, the applications are identifying the genes expressed in different cell types. That means one gene which may be present in liver cell as well as a kidney cell, how differentially they are expressed. So, you can study that also. We can learn how expression level change in different developmental stages, that is embryo versus adult. So as the organism, as the individual is growing from an embryo to adult, different developmental stage, different gene level expression, that will also change. We can also learn how expression level change in disease development. That means, as I mentioned earlier also, affected cell, a control cell, or an affected cell, disease cell, if you can compare, you can see the difference pattern of gene expression. We can also learn how groups of genes interrelated, that means gene-gene interaction takes place. We can identify cellular process that genes participate. That means structure, repair, metabolism, replication, in each process, how these genes are behaving. So these are the basics. There are many more applications, but these are enough to explain at your level. So these are the application of microarray technique. Hope you understood. Any doubt, you can mail me, you can ask me. Thank you very much.